Alright, we should be streaming pretty soon. There we are. We're up and going. Let me see. "10 seconds in and we already got someone saying first. You guys are crazy about that. Let me take my headphones out. Hey, surviving gamer. We got about a minute left. And then I'll answer some questions. You guys know how it goes? Whoa, that's a lot of chat comments. If you guys can hear me fine, press a 2. If I'm too quiet, you might not be able to hear me saying this, but press a 1. And if I'm too loud, type in a 3. We got about 40 seconds left before the notifications get sent out to everyone. What's up? That's a lot of 2s. How can I feel more energized? I am a lot more energized whenever I drink coffee. How to get a good voice as you? It's funny, when I started practical psychology and I listened to my own voice, I was like, oh my, that is very cringy. Listening to your own voice is really hard if you're not used to it, but I've listened and edited my own narrations a lot that my voice doesn't sound weird to me anymore. Alright, it looks like this timer is finished. Let's get into some of the questions. The first question is from, give me a second here, Johannes, or Johan. Not sure how to say your name, but how can you not be as affected by negative attitudes by your workmate? So first off, if you're sure that they're negative, make sure not to spend more time with them outside of work. You have to distance yourself if you're not in the mindset that you want to try to change them. If you go the exact opposite route and you do want to try to change them, you can try spending time with them and then becoming good friends, and then possibly you can start to help them improve their negative attitudes. A lot of people with negative attitudes don't even realize that they're that negative. But back to the first route, see if you can talk to your managers or maybe other coworkers and find a way in the office or wherever you work to spend less time around them. Maybe you can move your desk or maybe even move offices, but explain your situation and see if there are options available where you work. If you can, put yourself around more positive people right after you get off of work, and that'll help you, especially if you feel like your attitude is changing due to their negativity. Let's go on to the next question. Someone asks, what are good podcasts, YouTube channels, TV shows that I consume? Off the top of my head, Clark Kegley from Refusing to Settle. It's a great channel. Alex Becker, I watch him a lot. Some of his uploads have been pretty weird lately. I think it's Deadbeat Super Affiliate. He has some cool content. He's been putting out a lot of new stuff. Grant Cardone. Gary Vee lately has been I used to watch him a lot, but the content for me has been really repetitive. He's upped his quality, though. Jeremy from Financial Education, he's been crushing it, along with Tom Bilyeu from Impact Theory. I actually don't listen to that many podcasts, and lately I haven't been watching TV at all, so I can't answer podcasts or TV shows right now. Someone else asks, what are your daily habits and routines? I start my day off with coffee and a shower. Nothing cold, just a normal waking up shower. I don't do cold showers as often as I used to. Then I usually dig right into my to-do list and crush the top 3 most difficult things. Those usually take me to around lunch. Sometimes I'll work out before lunch. I've actually been slacking going to the gym because I've been grinding with Practical Growth Academy and also a future how to sell course that I'm creating. There's over 60, I plan on over 60, probably over 70 videos in that. So I haven't been working out as much as I probably should. But I get the smaller, easier to do things between lunch and around 5 p.m., maybe 8 p.m. until the next meal. And really depending on what I'm doing, what the work is, and sometimes even how I'm feeling, depends on how much work I'm getting done. After dinner, I take some time to relax with my family. Right now I've got a bro that I'm working on a side project with. It's still business, but there's not risk involved in that business, and it's more relaxing, and for me, it's a lot of fun. So I kind of give myself some freedom. I mean, I don't want to be working all the time, so I'll just kind of answer your questions. It seems like you're kind of wanting to model your day after mine. That was kind of a basic overview. Someone said, I already did 3 of the worksheets that you have in the course. However, nothing changed in my life. These are just sitting there answered by me. What should I do to take advantage of this? So my first question is, are you taking any action on the information that you're learning and filling out in the worksheet? So if you just The worksheets are designed to help you understand the ideas better and to implement action faster instead of just being confused by the ideas and eventually procrastinating. But your growth will ultimately depend on the action that you actually take. In this live stream, I've answered a lot. There were a lot of questions about action. So try to get some help in the Discord if you can, and maybe explain your situation a little better, and I think I can help you a little bit more. But it sounds like you're just filling out the worksheets and watching the videos, but you got to do a little bit more than that. You got to put in some work and the action. Someone else asks, what are the good rules to ask a good question? In my opinion, always explain your context as much as possible, especially with the nitty-gritty details. The more details there are to a question, the better answer someone can give you. For example, if someone asks you, how can I get rich? You're going to give them two different answers if they're 18 years old versus if they're like 74 years old. Also, depending on what major they have or their interests or their passions, the context of a question matters a lot. The next question is from James. When are we going to see your face? Maybe soon. I know a lot of people really like the mystery of not knowing what I look like, but there's also a lot of viewers who have seen me before. If you know where to look, you can see my face. I've tested videos with animations and screen capture and stuff like the animation videos that I do now, and I've also tested videos with my face. In the first kind, the animations do way better on audience retention and also how people learn. People learn a lot better on the animations than they do looking at my face. That's something that I've noticed and tested. So, to answer your question, maybe soon. I might do some more videos with my face. We'll see. This is going to be a long answer. Jaitesh asks, how to read people. Since you're an expert at the broader psychological level, could you share a few of the best ways to read and win over clients or newly met people, and handle their objections ethically? Ethically is very important. And make a lifetime rapport with them. What's your best answer that you can share about human psychological hacks that could blow all of your viewers' minds away? When you first meet someone, the way that you meet them is very important. For example, if you meet some gorgeous lady from your obnoxious and rude family member, you're going to be associated with that family member's qualities, and you'll have to break that frame in that person's mind. On the other side, if you've got some great friends, when you meet new people with them by your side, by the halo effect, you'll be seen as pretty awesome too, just by being around that group. So to handle their objections, the easiest way is to simply make sure that they don't have any objections about you in the first place. If you can nail a first impression, you'll be able to avoid having to objection handle. So make sure that you're confident yet humble, and stylish but not flashy in a first impression. In long-term relationships, the gold is always shown. And if you're a genuine person who wants to give them value, who wants to be a good friend, it'll show. Something else on this, there are a lot of people who try not to be themselves because they're scared of being judged. But honestly, being yourself is the best way to get friends and gain trust. The authenticity of who you are will show, and people around you will feel more relaxed knowing that you are who you are on the inside, on the outside also. There's also something called the novel effect that not very many people know about, which means people like things out of the ordinary and unusual and will remember them easier. So if possible, find something about your personality, something about yourself that's either odd or quirky, and double down on it. Don't be afraid to show it. People like people who are unique. I hope that answers your question. I really thought about this one. The next question is from someone who didn't enter their name, but they say, I have got into habits where I only keep learning and write down stuff, but never take action and procrastinate on it. The sad part is I have a lot of knowledge, but I know few things such as how to build my best team, where to find the right people, and how much to pay them, how to start hiring, stuff like that. How to get started in startups and beat procrastination. Share your best advice that you've rarely shared as of yet on beating procrastination. So this is actually a problem that a lot of people have. You have to start by making small commitments first, take small action, and then over time you can increase the amount of action that you're taking until you're taking massive daily action on the daily. The best way to beat procrastination, in my opinion, is not to write down a to-do list or to organize your ideas, even though that is a great way to beat procrastination. It's not the best way. For people who are battling procrastination a lot, the best way to beat it is to go out and do the thing as soon as you think of it. Remove the thoughts that push you back. Just do the action. Just go out and do the work. Whatever it is you need to accomplish, put your mind to it and do that one thing as soon as possible. Stop thinking about it and start doing to get the action done. A lot of people will think about something and they'll ponder it. Is it a good decision or not? Well, one of the best ways to find out if something is a good decision or not is to go ahead and do it and then see what happens. That is not recommended for every situation, but a lot of people, if they went through and just did the action instead of thinking too much, thinking is needed for a lot of decisions, but little stuff like what logo should I pick or other things like that people think too much on. So I hope that answered your question. Ryan asks, through practicing mindfulness and stoicism, I have been able to have much better control of my emotions. Oh, I remember this question. When something happens that used to make me mad, it doesn't really spark up any emotion anymore, which feels awesome. However, now when good things happen, I barely feel anything also. So I'm kind of at a point where my emotions hover around a good neutral feeling, but don't stray far from that line. How do I start to really feel the highs I used to get from, for example, landing a new ski trick? How do I get pumped up and excited about new things again? First thing I want to say is that you might actually want to talk to a professional about this. On one hand, you might have a deficiency that doesn't allow your brain to experience better highs, so to say. It's basically the opposite of bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder is where some people have very high highs, and then a couple days later, weeks later, or a period of time later, they will have really, really low lows. So, I'm not diagnosing you at all. I'm just saying that it's something that you might want to check out with a professional. Have any of your social circles or income changed drastically recently? Because that could be leading to something like this. You might want to reach out and hang out with some friends for a while, because that really helps me when I feel like life couldn't get much better because I'm lacking improvement. Sometimes hanging around friends, I think that is going to be the best advice that I could give you right now, is to hang around people who support you and get you excited about other things. I have been where you have been, though, where life doesn't seem to get really high and it doesn't seem to get really low, and it seems to be in a little mellow area where you're in right now. The next question is an interesting one. They say, my girlfriend can't get rid of stuff. She has a lot of papers, clothes, and things that she doesn't use or even need, and it's just occupying space in our house. When I try to help her organize the things and trying to take them out, she doesn't want my help. However, when she organizes, she can't do it all by herself because now it's already too much stuff and there's too much stuff to do, and she doesn't want help from me or from other people. How can I deal with this situation? First thing I would say is to talk to her about how you feel about the situation. If not, she probably already knows about how you feel, but when you start the conversation, be solution-based and not problem-based, not problem-focused. Try to come up with a solution and see if you guys can maybe compromise. Maybe she can sell some of her things at a garage sale or something like that, but she can still keep half of it. And maybe talk to her about the root of the problem. Maybe when she was young, she didn't have that much, and as a result, she is now hyperactive in saving and hoarding things. I have actually a few friends who are like this, and especially my grandparents. When they were growing up, they didn't have much, and if you walk into my grandparents' house, you can see that they still have that fear of losing stuff. So there might be something deeper at play here. That is my opinion and my advice on this situation. Next one is also from Johannes. I really hope I'm saying your guys' name right. That is actually something I feel guilty about. Hello, Theodore. In the second week, you mentioned the Zorro Circle. If you guys don't know, the Zorro Circle was part of the Happiness Advantage. It was one of the lessons. And that you should master the first circle and then move on to another, right? To apply it in, for instance, to my training, I want to be able to, this word, I actually wasn't sure what this word was until I looked it up, but it's like a plank, except you're using your hands to support yourself. And I believe it's a French word pronounced planche. And if I apply the method of the Zorro Circle, I should train for a certain time on one of the first progressions until I master it. But in past, pushing myself helped a lot in getting progress in my workout goals. So my question is it better to stay longer in one progression or to push myself into a harder one? The question is not only for training, also for areas of life. This is kind of a double-sided question, double-sided answer too. It's actually easy to grow if you get out of your comfort zone, and a lot of people grow the best when they run before they walk. And what I mean by that is when they go up and just jump a couple levels of progression and they realize, hey, I could skip these and save a lot of time. But I'd say to try both. If you can't do the harder workout or exercise, then stick to the easier one before you start to progress. This is just my example. This is just my advice, but here's an example. If you're benching 150 pounds at 12 reps, first off, you're probably focusing on muscle growth right now instead of strength. If you wanted to increase that, I'd say jump up to 160 pounds and see how many you could do. If you could get to 8, then you can start doing higher. You can start doing 160 pounds on the average until you get up to 12 again. On a planche, like what you're talking about, you'll need to master just a normal plank on the ground, then you'll have to master forearm control and wrist flexibility, and then you have to combine them all to actually complete the exercise. But in life in general, I'd say sometimes the Zorro Circle is really applicable, and sometimes sometimes you just need to skip a couple steps. You might be more advanced than starting out in the beginning would help you. I'm going to go back to the YouTube chat. Let's answer some questions here before I move on. That's a lot of questions coming in. How to learn a new language? I've actually been looking into that. I think one of the best ways to learn a new language is called immersion, where you just go to the other country that the language is mainly spoken, and that basically forces you to learn a new language. But I don't know if that's how I'd want to learn a language. I might want to learn some of the basics first. Any more questions? There's a lot of questions coming in. I want to learn a lot of new skills, but I feel overwhelmed. What would you do in my place? Focus on one skill at a time. It's easier to master one skill at a time than it is to try to be a jack of all trades and learn a whole bunch of stuff. For example, when I am doing this course creation thing, I focus on learning how to build an expert sales page, and then I focus on how to deliver my content better, and then I focus on how to get more customers and stuff like that. Focused on one. How do I say this? You want to diversify, but you also want to put all of your eggs in one basket and just stare at that basket to make sure it doesn't break. Alright, let's go back to some. I think we're almost done. We've got a couple more questions. The next question is from, oh, it's not a question. Someone said, though, thank you for the amazing content you deliver and the effort you put into this academy. Keep up the great work. Thanks for this. I've been grinding really hard in the past couple days and couple weeks and trying to balance life and work, and it really means a lot to hear this, that I'm delivering value. So thanks, Anonymous or whoever you are. The next question is, this one's from Leo. How and how long did it take you to realize that failure is important? Also, thanks for answering my questions. Your advice really helps me out. I don't exactly remember when, but it became very clear in one of the books that I read. It was just like a thing that clicked, and it was like failure is part of life. Just like aging is a part of life, just like time is, and good things and bad things, they happen. It's just a part of life. Failure is a teacher that inflicts pain to teach instead of success. And most of the time you actually learn more from failure because you don't want that pain again. Also with failure, you usually know exactly what went wrong. If you fail, like if you put your hand on a stove and it starts burning, you're going to know exactly that it was because you put your hand on the stove that caused that pain. In success, on the other hand, which is another teacher, it generally is a culmination of a ton of things going right. To where failure is usually one thing that you can identify and say, hey, I probably should not repeat those actions, or I probably shouldn't do that again. So, I hope that answers your question, and I'm glad I could help you out. Let's see. The next one is from Joe. Joe asks, what do you do when you're sad? I'm going to come up with 3 main things that I do when I'm sad, and not necessarily just sad, but kind of in a lower state of mind. Number 1 is learn things. Learning things spikes my curiosity and gets me out of the little slump that I might be in. Learning things is a great thing to do whenever you're sad. For me, anyways, in my opinion, that's would be my number 1 advice to you. Number 2 is to hang out with friends. Hanging out with friends also helps me out of the dump. I think I put learning things as number 1 because I'm more of an introvert. I think a lot, and if you have friends, they are a relationship, and you do have to keep them. You do have to upkeep relationships. They're not like passive income where you can set aside and passive income grows. Friends, you have to keep putting effort into them. So hang out with friends is another thing I do that helps me get out of the dumps. It really helps that I've got 2 or 3 close tight friends that we've really invested a ton into each other and have grown a lot. So number 1 is learn things. Number 2 is hang out with friends and family. Number 3 is listen to upbeat music. Funnily enough, when I'm sad or I feel less energetic, sometimes going to the gym or even just listening to upbeat music really has an effect on my mood. And I think it will help your mood too. Music, there's actually a lot of psychology. I think I actually made a video about music in the mind, but it has a huge effect on your demeanor. I feel great after a great workout and listening to some great music. So those are the 3 things I'd recommend to you, Joe, if you're feeling sad. Try to learn new things, hang out with some friends and family, and listen to more upbeat music. The next question looks like it's also from Joe, and Joe asks, which are the systems that you have set for your life? This one's kind of a hard question to answer. I have it to where $1,000 goes into my IRA every month. I have a Roth IRA set up I started that last year. I maxed it out, and this year I'm trying to max it out a little early, as well as also $500 from my business account to my savings account. So those are really the only systems I would say. I also, every day I drink coffee every day, and I've been working a lot lately, so I'm not too sure what systems you're talking about, so more description would help me answer this better. If you're talking about like sales funnel systems or automations or stuff like that, I might be able to answer it better. But it's a little weird that the next question is, what are the automated processes that you have done in your life that have helped you the most? So this is also kind of difficult to answer. Please refer to my previous answer. The automatic process I'm thinking of that you might be talking about is the auto pay into the IRA and savings account. Other than that, I'm a little confused on what you mean by processes. But the next question is from G. I think it's G. It might be Gee. She's in the Discord a lot, so that's really cool. Have you experienced analysis paralysis before? If so, how did you overcome it? I just need an advice because I think I'm in that situation right now. I am personally torn between learning graphic design and digital marketing. I want to learn graphic design, but I want to work on my online website and attract sales, leaving me with lesser time for graphic design. Any insights? For me, I analyze a lot of things, and I'm absolutely a data guy, and I love to look at numbers and calculate and tinker and little things like that. But it really wasn't until at the start of practical psychology that I realized hard work mixed with those kind of calculations and the things that I've learned is what will really bring home the bacon, so to say. I'd pick one thing and go for it. If you have to, flip a coin. If the coin upsets you how it lands, then you should probably pick the other option. If you're torn and it doesn't really matter which side the coin lands on, flip on it again and go with what lands. Taking action at this moment, especially if you learned a lot, if you've learned a whole bunch of things, it will get you further than trying to learn more. See, I wanted to be a nuclear engineer, but one semester at nuclear engineering college taught me that is not what I should do. Action is the best way to find out what you should do for sure. I think I might have answered that in one of the previous questions. If you can, thinking and thinking and thinking, it can help you learn and visualize ideas and concepts and kind of think about it. And I mean, that stuff is important, but action is also very important, and you will learn a lot from action. So, hope I answered your question. Next question is, let's see, they didn't have a name, but they said, I am curious how to apply the 80-20 principle in your life, so which 20% activities are resulting in 80% of your desired outcome? So you have to look at very specific situations and take a moment and think about it. This is one of the times when thinking about something is very important. For example, in money, I should probably look at my expenses and find out where 20% of my money is going. That's returning 80% of the profits and helping 80% of the people. And maybe I can cut out some of the excess expenses. I need to look at most of the people in my life that respect me and the ones that add value to my life and that I can add value to, and find out which ones don't respect me, but I might still spend a lot of time with them. Maybe I can find ways to spend less time around people who don't respect me and aren't adding value to my life and might be a drain and more in that toxic category. It's just something that you've got to look at and think about for a little while. That would be interesting. It would be interesting to come up with a process to make that easier, though. If you're an entrepreneur, there you go. There's an idea. The next question is from Cryant that says, I'm planning to invest in learning a skill that can help me get additional income to get financial freedom. I'm already a qualified professional and receive a good paycheck at the end of the month, but I still really want to diversify my income. That is a great plan. Can you recommend any specific skill? One of the best skills to learn is sales, and I'm not just biased because I'm creating a sales course, but once you learn how to sell something that you believe in, you can, number one, you'll make more money, and two, you can actually help people with a product that don't have that product yet because they're not convinced that they need it. If you're selling something that you don't believe in, you probably shouldn't be selling it. Other than sales, though, most online skills are pretty useful and can be learned quickly if you know how to, for free, like on YouTube and Udemy. Udemy costs, but it's really cheap now. Stuff like graphic design, search engine optimization, also known as SEO, copywriting. You kind of got to have a knack for copywriting. Video editing, stuff like that. Those are great skills to invest in. Rob asks, I think this might be their last question. I think Rob's at the end of the train. Rob asks, I recently started taking cold showers. Most of the time when I get in the shower, I turn it on hot, and after some time, then I eventually turn it to cold. I don't know why, but this way I do it more often, and it takes me less willpower to do it. My question, is this less effective than just showering in cold water the whole time? I'm not sure if this is if the effectiveness is asking about building a habit or the benefits from taking a cold shower. But the fact that you said you're doing it more often and it's taking less willpower sounds like it's working pretty well. Just a little bit slower than the way that you'd want to, than in the time frame that you'd want to achieve it. So I'd say, right now, how you're doing it is working pretty effectively and working pretty well. So I'd say it's equally as effective. Now, if you're talking about the cold shower benefits, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure. I think that was the last question. Yep. All right, so now that I'm done with the Practical Growth Academy questions, let's get on to some questions in chat. It looks like there's around 200 people watching, and we're around 25 minutes in. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the YouTube chat, and I'd love to answer them. That's a lot of questions. I should probably... How to stay focused. It's really easy to stay focused when you're working on something that you're passionate about, something that you're curious about, and something that you love to learn about. So if you're having trouble focusing, it might be because you're doing something that you do not like. How to write a great book. Great is... I can teach you how to write a book. I've written a couple books before. I think the next book I write is going to be a little bit longer, and I'm probably going to sell it in paperback. I'm not sure. I have a topic in mind, but I don't want to share it because someone else could completely write it by the time that I start working on it. So, how to make a bad impression in front of a good girl? Wait, how to make a bad impression in front of a girl good? Your thoughts on Bitcoin? I don't know that. The thing about my opinion on Bitcoin is that I do not completely understand how it works, so I'm not going to invest in it. There's a lot of people that invest in Bitcoin that don't really know how it works. And of all the investment and financial education books that I have read, they all come to the conclusion that you really shouldn't, it's a gamble. If you don't know what you're investing in, it's called a gamble. So do not gamble with money that you're not willing to lose. If you put money into Bitcoin, you need to understand if you wake up tomorrow and you lose $1,000 because you put $1,000 into it, like the BitConnect thing, you have got to be okay financially and emotionally okay with losing that amount of money. How old am I? I'm 21. I'm 21 years old. Someone says, Theo, answer my question. But I'm not sure what your question is. Let's see if I can scroll up and find it. Nope. Stress handling. Stress is needed to grow as a person. It's called eustress. But bad stress is called distress. And that's the kind of stress that increases your cortisol levels and that you should probably try to get rid of. What? What would you recommend being a psychologist or psychoanalyst? Those would be very interesting fields to go into academically. I'm not necessarily sure that I want to go back to college to become a psychologist, a certified clinical psychologist, but I love learning about psychology and teaching what I learn about psychology in this format. So if that's something that you want to do, go for it. How to stay motivated for a long period of time. I've been working on my sales course for about a month and a half now, and I've got probably 3 more months until it launches. And one thing, I have been super motivated and working really hard on it, and there's a couple things at play. One of them is the fact that I'm very passionate about it, and I'm really excited about it. So those two things, for sure, if you want to stay focused and passionate and motivated about something, make sure you're passionate about them in the first place and that you stay excited. Whether that be in the daily, something that you're excited about doing in tomorrow. I'm really excited about what kind of, like, I have to record some copywriting scripts, and it's not copywriting in the sense of like trademarks and stuff like that. It's copywriting like using words to sell stuff. And I am narrating 3 scripts like that tomorrow, and I'm really excited about it. That copywriting module is becoming one of my favorite modules I've ever created. So I want attention. Answer me, please. There you go. Got attention. All right. How to stay calm when someone is offending you. I don't get offended very easily. I think it takes a lot to offend me, And actually, I think if someone is offending me, might actually, in my head, I might start defending them. Like, maybe they just don't know. So I don't get offended very easily. Maybe if you wanted to work on you getting offended, work on trying to understand the other person. Because some people are just mean and rude. And, like, I'm not going to get offended because that's a characteristic trait of them. I'm going to realize, hey, that's not something that I have an issue with. That's something they have an issue with. And I'm not going to let them bring me down. And sometimes, if there's mixing beliefs, then I don't get offended at that either. I just understand, hey, they have a different viewpoint. So, I think you get offended when you accept the offend. So, I don't know if it's because the people that I hang around aren't very offensive, and I've just chosen not to be around offensive people, but it's been a long time since I've really been offended by something. Alright guys, we're at around the 30-minute mark. If you guys jumped in, if you've watched this entire live stream, type in a 1. But if you jumped in halfway or even 10 minutes into the live stream, type a 2. I'm really interested how many people actually watch the whole live stream versus how many people come and go. There's a lot of messages being held for review right now. It's a little sketchy. Oh, there's Brett. He's been watching the whole live stream. Brett's in PGA, I know that for sure. There's a lot of 2s. And Jitesh is in here too. You guys are awesome. Alright guys, it's towards the end of the live stream. I wish I had some more content to give you, but I've answered all the questions that the people in Practical Growth Academy have asked, and I've answered most of your interesting questions in the chat. There's a lot of questions in chat. Not very many of them are interesting or good questions. Some of them are pretty weird. I will see you guys next week. Actually, I've got an upload tomorrow, so I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much for being on this live stream, and I love you guys.